That was the act. That was why they were paying him $40,000 a day. So early on in my film car career, one of the first jobs I ever did was for a very, very prominent photographer who will go unnamed, who does like high level fashion shoots. And he's a real and true character. So the car was like a 56, 57 Thunderbird, and it had to be an odd color because of this kind of sci-fi alien thing going on. And fortunately, in those years, Ford made some tremendous colors. Everybody thinks of old cars are like white or black or something, but they made these fantastic salmon kind of metallics. And this, back in the 50s, like pink and salmon were men's colors. Like a pink Cadillac was a guy's car. And it wasn't until the 60s that the whole thing, pink became a woman and light blue was for a boy. But back then you could have a wacky color because it was post-war. They wanted to get out of the grays and tans of everything. So when we presented this car to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's it." Like it had like a weird bronze interior with a salmon exterior. Like it was tremendous. And really cars and film car situations are props. Rarely are they the star. You're going to be focusing on something else. You catch a corner or a bit of it. But they had it focusing really head on. So it was about the headlights. And we turned the headlights and we had the reflection from the water. And it would sit there. I mean, I think we ran the battery dry with the headlights. But it was a good old car. But that's kind of the life of film car, editorial film cars at least, is that you drive them in, you park them, you get them in position, you might move them once or twice. And then they put models around them. And you just make sure that they don't have anything sharp on their pockets or anything like that. But yeah, it's just a nice car. We set up a shoot in what was like an old garage, and they had wet the floor down to make it look glossy. And they brought in all these models, and all the models had to be over 6 feet tall because it was kind of this weird alien Bowie thing they were doing, and they all had their hair stacked up. And they started showing up at like 5 in the morning. And they went into makeup, and they started to get the lights going, which is pretty typical. You get all that stuff done early on. And when they were coming out of the cabs, by the way, like they were the weirdest alien-looking creatures. Like a top-level model without the makeup and all the costumes, they look really, really strange. So like they're all getting out like go into makeup. The 3 photo assistants, all these major photographers have at least 3 assistants. One guy's working with the camera, one guy's working with lenses, one guy's doing this. And they're the ones who really do all the work. They're the unsung heroes. Literally, the photographer just comes in and squeezes a trigger, and these guys do everything else. So they set everything up, and it's now like 8 o'clock in the morning, and the client shows up. And I think I'm going to say it was like Gucci or something like that. And it was Italian Vogue that was shooting it. They're there, and everybody's waiting for the photographer to show up. And these photographers, they all shoot the same pictures. And I mean, I admire their skill and their talent, and they are fantastic photographers. But a lot of it has to do with the theater they create around the artiste thing. And this guy was an absolute master. Crazy curly hair, crazy little glasses. And everybody's waiting. He's supposed to be there at 8. Everything's set up. We're 3 hours into the setup. Everything's perfect. Everything's wet, And he's not there. Then 8:30 comes, and he's late. And they're paying everybody by the hour. And the client's kind of like, "Oh, where is he at?" And they start making phone calls. And as everybody gets just nervous enough, the door opens, and he walks straight up to his guys. He's like, yes, this, and this. And everything gets really quiet because, he's there, and he puts the models where he wants them. And they hand him the camera. And, of course, it's, like a $20,000 Hasselblad or something. And he's walking around going, And his assistants are like, "What do you need? Does it need to be wetter? Like, should we change lenses?" He hasn't even looked through the camera yet. And he's like, just holding it out in front of him. Going, Everybody's like buzzing. Like, what should we do? How do we satisfy your artistic needs? And he's like, muffin top. And he drops the camera. Without even looking, just opens his hand, and the camera falls into free fall. And his assistant goes and catches it. He doesn't even move. He just... And we're like, muffin top? And his other guy runs over to craft services, unscrews about 3 muffin tops and puts them on a thing. And he's continuing to stand there almost frozen in the air. And they bring over a napkin with 3 muffin tops. And he goes and picks one, walks back to the door he just walked in moments ago, pulls out a cigarette, lights it inside the studio, which you can't do, drags a huge drag, blows smoke all over his muffin top and into the room, closes the door behind him and goes right out. And everybody's like, it's still dead quiet. Like, okay. The editor for Italian Vogue turns to the woman from the Gucci company and she goes, isn't he artistic? I'm like, oh, really? Really? And he goes outside, has a smoke. 10 minutes later, the door opens. He walks in and just starts shooting. Like, that was the act. That was why they were paying him $40,000 a day, was for that moment to show everybody what control he had of the situation and that he was the artiste. And it was gorgeous. It was a piece of theater. And I'm like, after that, I'm like, yeah, I got to do more of this film car stuff. So whenever we have like a pretentious douche, we're all like, oh, muffin top. Like, or if you do something that really is kind of pretentious, you're muffin topping. Like, it became a thing. Everybody calls it. Like, Laura will catch me on that. She'll be like, muffin top? I'm like, damn it, I am muffin topping. Sorry, I totally did a muffin top. The idea of the magazine obviously is fading away with the advent of social media. But back then, I mean, and this is only 10 years ago, right? You can Instagram now, you put a post, 20,000 people see it, you expose your product, everything's great. But, you know, a film shoot, editorial film shoot could take weeks to plan for what you would end up with, maybe 5 or 6 images in a magazine. And, you know, they were paying us. They're paying for the car, they're paying the models, they're paying the assistants, they're paying the space. And space in New York, and studio space in New York is very expensive. So to get the exposure that now you could get in a couple of clicks on your cell phone, you know, might have taken 2 or 3 weeks to set up, and maybe $100,000 or maybe more, depending on the photographer and the space, but at least $100,000 for a shoot like that. You know, that was what we did day in and day out. That was normal. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna spend all this money and time and planning, and you're gonna get 5 pictures out of it. Now, you know, I guess I'm feeling old. Like that. You know, you can take those pictures that they spend a lot of money moving everything towards social media or influencers and things like that, and the magazines become less, you know, important. But that was really the focus in New York at the time. Like, they were still in the transitional era of that, and magazines were still the thing, and they would spend a tremendous amount on shoots. And I think I've been on shoots where I know they dropped at least $250,000. Maybe $400,000 just to set up and shoot for photography, which seems insane today, you know, as far as price for impact, right? But that was the way it was, and I would gladly take their money. I would gladly take a chunk of that $400,000. But yeah, it was the way it was. Magazines were the king, and we were there for, really, you could actually map the decline from when we got in to film cars in like 2002, 2003. And when I left in around 2010, 2011, the editorial stuff had significantly dropped off. You know, television and film always kicking, for sure. But the need for that kind of stuff and the budgets for that kind of stuff were very different.
Shrewd negotiation starts with finding the right car, and the best way to do that is with Autotempest.com. Autotempest allows you to search nationally through all the major listing sites with one search. Autotempest, all the cars, one search.